Hello, and welcome to this presentation summarizing changes made in the Occupational Health and Safety Regulations 2020. The contents of this presentation are for informational purposes only. Introduction. The Government of Saskatchewan has made amendments to the Occupational Health and Safety Regulations 1996. Effective April 1st, 2021, the Occupational Health and Safety Regulations 2020 will be in effect. A copy of the full regulations is available at saskatchewan.ca. Review of regulations. A review of the Occupational Health and Safety Regulations 1996 was undertaken in 2019 to harmonize certain personal protective equipment requirements with other jurisdictions in Canada, and to update references and make minor housekeeping amendments to assist workers, employers, owners, and contractors in understanding their rights and obligations. Summary of changes. The new regulations adopted a CSA standard for first aid kits, harmonized personal protective equipment standards, consolidated 3 regulations, removed seismic blasting exemption, renumbered regulations, made housekeeping amendments, and introduced a special vaccination leave. Harmonization of first aid kits. As part of a Canada-wide initiative to remove barriers to internal trade, investment, and labor mobility, employers and contractors are now required to maintain first aid kits based on the Canadian Standards Association standard Z1220-17. First aid risk assessment. The new regulation requires an employer to have a workplace first aid kit risk assessment completed by a competent person. The assessment will determine the risk classification of the worksite, which is used to determine the first aid kits and first aid personnel that are required on the worksite. Annex A of the CSA standard provides direction for undertaking a workplace first aid risk assessment. Personal protection harmonization. In addition, the following personal protective standards have been adopted as approved standards: industrial protective headwear, eye and face protectors, protective footwear, hearing protection devices, and personal flotation devices. No regulatory amendments were required to adopt these standards. Approved standards. Various provisions of the regulations refer to approved standards, practices, or equipment. Approved is defined as approved by an agency acceptable to the director for use in accordance with any terms and conditions determined by the agency, or approved by a certificate of the director subject to any terms and conditions the director considers appropriate. Standard harmonization. Adoption of these standards will ensure consistent equipment and practices across jurisdictions, which in turn will enhance health and safety. Harmonization is also intended to improve labor mobility by reducing costs and administration for workers and businesses operating across jurisdictions. Accessing CSA standards. Instructions. These harmonized standards can be accessed for free online. Go to the CSA web store. If you don't have an account already, create one for free by registering through the link in the top right-hand corner. Once the account is created, log in. Use the search bar to search for the standard you are interested in. Select the hyperlink in the standard title. Information on the standard will then populate the screen. Select the View Access button near the top left. A web-based viewer will pop up. You won't be able to download or print the standard, but you can view it through the web browser. Consolidation of regulations. The Occupational Health and Safety Regulations 2020 consolidate the following regulations: the Occupational Health and Safety Regulations 1996, the Occupational Health and Safety Prime Contractor Regulations, and the Occupational Health and Safety Workplace Hazardous Materials Information System Regulations. The consolidation is meant to reduce confusion and increase ease of reference for workplace parties in order to support compliance and reduce workplace injuries. Seismic blasting changes. The exemption for workers conducting seismic exploration operations has been removed, formerly Section 375. Seismic blasting now falls under the Occupational Health and Safety Regulations 2020. Renumbering of regulations. The Occupational Health and Safety Regulations 2020 have been renumbered to align with the Saskatchewan Employment Act. The renumbering will provide ease of use for all parties. The revised numbering system is also flexible enough to accommodate future amendments. Housekeeping amendments. General housekeeping amendments have been made in order to update references to repealed legislation, such as the Occupational Health and Safety Act 1993, and modernize language to reflect current practices, such as using gender-neutral language. Special vaccination leave. Effective March 18, 2021, workers are entitled to a minimum of 3 consecutive hours of paid leave during work hours to obtain a COVID-19 vaccination. Workers are entitled to more than 3 consecutive hours paid leave during work hours to obtain a COVID-19 vaccination if their employer determines that circumstances warrant it. This is Section 6-22.1 of the new regulations. More information. More information about workplace health and safety can be found by calling the OHS Division 1-800-567-7233 or by visiting saskatchewan.ca, worksafesask.ca, or publications.saskatchewan.ca. Thank you for your time.